What's going on, guys? This is Matt Marrow for Real Estate Recovery Group. I am your head conductor and engineer for tonight. My co-pilot for this evening is the lovely Cathy Haddad, and she is a mortgage professional. She's like in the top 0.1%. Top 1% of mortgages and writing mortgages, producing. She's also top 35% women nationwide or national or something like that, ranked wise.
Yeah, number 35 nationally.
That's pretty good. So tonight is a little special because we want to celebrate a young fella named Christopher Chin. Chris has been in real estate for 4 years, and he's really made a splash in the industry. And, you know, I had reached out to Cathy because we follow each other on social media, big fan of hers. I think she knows who I am. And I had asked her if she has any thoughts about, maybe coming on, doing a live with me. And she goes, what would you like to talk about? I said, Chris, absolutely. Love Chris. Yes. So
that's not true. I hesitated. Just kidding.
Hey, it's 7 o'clock. I would have hesitated. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So the whole purpose of tonight is really to, so obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Cathy, what she does, but to talk about Chris and basically how he's evolved over the last 4 years in real estate. You know, being in the real estate industry obviously is really not as easy and as glamorous as social media and these HGTV shows make it out to be. So it's actually kind of funny to actually see like the reality, talking like with rehabbers and stuff. And Chris and I have worked together and collaborated on short sales together. So Chris has a little bit of an understanding on that side of the industry, which is pretty cool. But I wanted to have Cathy on because I know Cathy thinks the world of Chris. Chris is always like, Cathy. I'm like, yo, you need to shut up. I get it. It's great. So there really was no other choice or really another person that I would want to have on as a co-host thing. Cathy, what would you like to say about Chris?
Well, the minute I met Chris, I instantly had this connection with him. I was like, wow, this guy, you can just see the hunger in his eyes and the genuine approach of always looking to do the right thing. And he just reminded me a lot of myself when I first started in the business. So I don't know, there was just that major connection. And from there on, I just totally was all in, wanted to work with him, wanted to help in any way I can to help grow his business, help him in any way. And here we are 4 years later, and he's a rock star. So I'm so excited and glad to be doing this with you guys.
That's really cool. I appreciate that. Chris, when you found out that Cathy and I wanted to have you come on and kind of like spotlight you a little bit, on my live stream, what was your thought? Like, what was going through your head? Like, when you hung up with me and I was like, yeah, this is what we want to do. Were you like, wait, what? What was going through your head?
I mean, I was definitely taken by surprise. I know I was scheduled to have something, sometime during the end of the week and everything, but like this was definitely unexpected having, two of, the best people I've ever worked with in this business, and just to get this recognition alone is very humbling, and it means the absolute world to me.
That's good. And I appreciate the fact that you recognize that. What I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to bring on two different people from two different realms, two different eras, no disrespect. Cathy's been in the business for about 17 years, whatever. Although you don't look your age. I'm assuming that you're probably 27. So that's pretty cool.
Add 10 years.
And 10 years to that. So you yourself actually grew up in the industry.
Yeah, I was 19 years old.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started. Tell us a little bit how you got started in the industry.
Yeah, so I started it was totally like one of those things that I was working. I did not have a college education. I couldn't afford college. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And basically, I was at a dead-end job that wasn't going to go anywhere and decided to take a leap of faith. And somebody told me about the mortgage industry, and I just kind of jumped in full force. And I was 19 years old, and it changed my life forever. It was probably the best decision I think I ever made in joining the mortgage industry. And I thank the lady who was my mentor at the time, Lynn Means, for helping me and guiding me to get into the mortgage industry, which was super exciting because in my first year, I was probably the #2 producer in the office. And from there on, made President's Club trips every year. And it was just, one of those things it was meant to be. It was what I was here to do, is work with people and helping them get financing for mortgages.
That's pretty cool. It's funny because, you meet so many people in the mortgage industry. And, there's only really a handful of people that I do trust in the industry that have been around for so long and that you can really feel comfortable with, and you can actually look to them for the advice that you need in the industry. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to cover tonight, obviously with Chris. And look, if you want to reach out to Chris, or if you want to follow him in any way, and I'm going to be throwing Cathy's information back up there again as well. You could go to his website, you can take a look on there. He has a hashtag. Chris is very into Instagram. What do you got, about 15,000 followers at this point, Chris?
We're about right under about 2,600 right now.
Okay, so you're rolling. Nice. I think the next time we do this, I'm going to Amazon Prime something for the dog so the dog could eat a little treat.
I am so sorry.
I'm only playing around. I'm surprised my dogs aren't going ballistic right now. So Chris,
yeah,
and Cathy, obviously, I want you to jump in on this one. Who is Chris Chen?
I mean, it's a very good question. I was born originally in New York City, moved here when I was very, very young. Spent a good amount of my childhood moving back and forth from Springfield and Queens. So, I'm a little bit of an oddball, a little bit of a middle, the middleman between the suburban life and the city life, essentially. So, but, just long story short, it's been an interesting road, and it took me into real estate, and, I just absolutely love helping people. I think you've said it best in your short sale recovery group in your boot camp, people before profit, and just something about just helping people and just being able to assist people with what I believe to be the most important asset in their life. Essentially, I always tell my team and people that I work with that I treat the three most important, I call it a pyramid of life, essentially, where love, housing, and finances are all the triangle itself, and each one of those pieces affect one another, essentially. And obviously real estate is one of the most important ones, which holds down the entire fort, essentially. And just being able to assist people with that most important asset and be able to help people in that sense. You and I have actually, you've helped me accomplish one of my greatest assets. A lot of people would say, all right, Christopher Chen, what's your greatest deal? And it will be honestly the two deals that we did on Crescent Avenue, or the one deal we did on Crescent Avenue, and the previous deal I did before that, because I actually saved 2 families from foreclosure in those houses. Wow. And, that relief itself is more rewarding than any other massive commission deal itself, because, I know I made a difference.
I did not know you were going to say that. You're going to make me cry. That's pretty cool stuff, man. It's about giving. It's about showing that, in the environment that we're in right now, that people should be spotlighted for, their accomplishments. I think there's way too many people in this industry that are looking at other people as competition. And I think people need to stop that. I think people need to collaborate with others. And I think people should look at people, as opportunity. Cathy, do you ever have a situation where people actually come to you and basically ask you, hey, look, I'm from so-and-so company. Do they ever bring you files that maybe they can't work on? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, I get lots of real estate company realtors that their deals going sideways. It's one of the things I'm actually known for, is structuring deals, being able to, and it's really, some of the times it's things that it's just completely missed, and, just knowing your guidelines. But yeah, we get tons of realtors. I say probably several deals a year from another bank that turned it down, that we were able to get the deal done. And that's just simply because of experience, knowledge, and just knowing how to put a deal together, and doing the right thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely appreciate that. So I guess one of the other questions that I wanted to ask is, Chris, you had mentioned to me more than twice about how you quit your job, or the job that you had to pursue real estate. But you also lost your girlfriend in the move because she didn't believe in you. Is that correct?
Well, funny story is, when I was younger, I would say about 2010, I started working in retail because I kind of realized at that point that graphic design was, as much as I enjoyed just putting out the work essentially and going to the city and doing a job, unfortunately, the limitations on how much, I would have been paid working for corporate, for a corporation, being as a graphic designer without my creative input was something I just didn't really want to be a part of. So, I became stagnant for a little bit, and I couldn't necessarily decide what I wanted to do. So I actually ended up going to I started working in the mobile business, and I started working at working at Livingston Mall, and I was working in the kiosk in the middle of the mall, right in front of the H&M, and eventually I actually ended up working in New York City for one of the corporate stores in by the Diamond District, and at some point I was just like, you know what, I didn't want to be stagnant anymore. And, I ended up turning on, this is how you knew that I was getting burnt out completely. I was just taking vacation weeks just to take vacation weeks, and for you guys know me, I just don't like it. I don't typically take any days off whatsoever. So, but, so with that being said, I was working with the Diamond District, and, at some point I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I ended up going to real estate because I actually turned on a television show during one of my little vacations, and I was watching $1 Million List in New York, and I was just immediately inspired just by the whole atmosphere itself. I became an instant fan because I've always loved marketing. I've always loved being able to put out my vision itself on something, on a piece of paper, and I've always said that even when I was like about 18, that they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if that's the case, then I like to create I like to be able to create something where I could capture an audience and speak not more, not just 1,000 words, but maybe 2,000, 5,000 words essentially to that person. So this way I could capture that audience. I have a general rule of thumb when it comes to just the marketing side itself that, you have a 5-second rule, essentially. Just, you have 5 seconds to either capture or lose your audience. And I really, really believe that my graphic design background has helped with that specifically, which is why I'm constantly trying to put out some new marketing material. It's just been an inspiration for me. And going back to, my ex-girlfriend. Yeah. So, I was young, and I've always had massive aspirations. I told my ex a long time ago that, I just wanted to be the best I could be in this business. And, I've been, I was raised in Springfield, and, I was almost the 1% of all Asian Americans in this town. So I didn't necessarily have the most friends. I wasn't the most popular. I knew everybody in town, but, just seeing who I've become at this particular point in my life is just literally a complete shocker to most of the people that I grew up around me. And, I personally enjoy that sense, in a sense. But with my ex-girlfriend, she literally told me that it was not going to be a possibility for me. And she just thought I would be someone that's going to be honed down. And I was just like, I just wanted to live amongst the average, perhaps like one of those stay-home soccer people, essentially, where, I'm just going to do maybe 5 deals a year, essentially. But I wanted so much more. I want to be able to inspire people. I do believe that I have the shoulders to hold down the weight of the world, essentially, in the sense that, if, I got to a certain point that I can inspire some people to do so much more, because I came from a lot. I went through a lot to get to the position I'm in today. And, I've made my own mistakes, and at the same time, I've, just been in, within certain circumstances that, honestly, I believe that most people would have crumbled on.
Listen, I can appreciate, what you're talking about, and you had. It's funny, you had mentioned, when we had met, actually for the first time, how, you had, I guess problems, not so much with socializing, but maybe people didn't get you or whatever it was. But I think childhood and the people that, you know, you grow up in childhood, people are so immature. And I think that maybe they didn't recognize or really see you for who you are. I've always seen you as an entrepreneur. I love the fact that you talk quick. You're very energetic. I don't like the fact that you're skinnier than me, but I'll get past that. I'll get past that. But I do love the fact that, you know, you're a genuine person. You absolutely care. I know that one of the projects that we worked on, the deals we worked on, you had said, yo, how am I going to get these people to the closing, whatever it is? I'm like, you'll figure it out. And what'd you do? You ordered up an Uber or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I was having car troubles those couple of months and everything, so I actually ended up having to go. I'd take multiple Ubers to these people's houses and everything. We had some of the craziest clients on earth. It was just one of those times. And these clients specifically, you know, we were dealing with just two elderly people that were so old to the point that, you know, getting a divorce just wouldn't even make any sense at this point, but they just absolutely couldn't stand each other. It was one of the craziest deals I've ever dealt with. It was supposed to be one of my quickest deals. Ended up being my longest deal. It took about 14 months to close. And my goodness, that was a crazy one. This is for sure.
Now, when you say it took 14 months to close, how long did it actually take my team to close it out? Do you know?
Oh, you guys took, you know, as soon as you got the approval, we closed it out in like 48 hours essentially.
No, but I'm saying, like, how long did it take for us to actually get from where we needed to be to the other point? Was the transaction really 14 months with us?
It wasn't you specifically. No, definitely not. It was definitely, you know, specifically the owners who continuously failed to get the paperwork processed. The fact that we literally kept on going at it, you know, after 14 months, specifically because the sellers were not willing to comply to what we were trying to do, you know, and just follow our instructions or whatever it is. The fact that we literally had to go back and forth to them every single other week. Right. I think I remember Ashley Gravano was on that call also, was on that file as well. She had to send multiple files overnight through UPS essentially and FedEx essentially.
That's right, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, it was crazy.
No printer, they had no email, they had no computer. I don't even know. Did they even have smartphones? I think they had like flip phones, cell phones.
They ended up running out. They ended up running out of them because the property was in Roselle, which is literally only like 15 minutes away from me. But what happened was they ended up, you know, towards the end of the deal, they ended up moving out to Willingboro. You know, and they didn't even tell me they were going to do this until they actually did it. And I was like, wow, you know, great, appreciate it. You know, you decided to move out an hour and a half away without telling your realtor. You know, that's cool. But we ended up making it work, you know. So once again, you know, shout out to Eric Waldorf for helping us out with that. You know, if it wasn't for him handling that notary deal for us, you know, he literally ran all the way out to Willingboro, then took another 3-hour trip to you.
Yeah, that was nuts. This guy, notary, actually drove 3 hours to my house.
Oh my God!
Paperwork, so I
could but he missed the signature too.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So he ended up going back, taking that same damn 3 hours back up to Matt's house afterwards.
Yeah. Basically, we got paid. He used it on gas money at that point. that poor guy. But you know what? But that's a perfect example of teamwork and working together. So you know, and the fact that you were in the industry for so little amount of time, and I think, and Cathy, maybe you could agree or disagree with me on this. You tell Chris one thing, he never forgets it, and he's always like, he's got like the mind of an elephant, and it helps because real estate agents in general, they don't always, they hear it. It's like, I heard it, or that I listened to it, I heard it.
They didn't absorb it. They didn't retain or understand the message in a lot of cases. Yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I just love working with Chris, because we literally, you would think this guy was in the business for years and years, because when you can have a conversation with him and it's a really, in-depth conversation, and there's lots of mortgage terminology that I would throw at him, and he was totally grasping it. And if he didn't, he knew to ask the right questions. And like, if you give him like specific information before you know it, it's done. You don't have to follow up. You don't have to chase him up. I never have any issues when I'm working with him and his team. And, that's exactly one of the reasons why I think he's done such an amazing job. Now, that's not my dog this time, by the way.
Not mine either.
It's not my dog.
It could be one of my 3 dogs.
Okay.
Under a basement. That's definitely not that.
I was been like, Cathy, tell your dogs to be quiet.
Yeah, man, that's not my dog. So Chris, what made you pick real estate as your weapon of choice? Like, I know you were talking about watching $1 Million Listing, but what made you say, you know, I'm going to get out of graphic design and get into real estate?
Well, I actually saw an opportunity to take my graphic design background and my marketing background and apply it to real estate. I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but I know, Cathy, I know you definitely seen $1 Million Listing. How Ryan can be a little crazy sometimes with the whole marketing and everything, and that's something that we don't really see much in Jersey. I believe that our trends in Jersey are actually about a couple of years behind the sense in comparison to New York City markets. And being a natural New Yorker myself, I kind of wanted to take that ideology and apply it. Which is why, I was one of the few agents, a couple of years ago, still applying Matterports before everyone else is doing it. I wanted to apply that that virtual tour aspect, that digital platform for people beforehand, before it became, a mass, before it became a situation where everyone was using it for whatever it was. But, I wanted to be able to take that graphic design background and apply it, because I always believed that, I had to create a vision essentially. And, that's essentially why I created Unlock Your Homes. I didn't want to be I didn't want to work for somebody essentially. Ironically, the first person I spoke to was Michelle Pice. I actually called her up when I first decided to go into real estate. And I was like, this is a really interesting business. And, I know you've been killing it and crushing it in Springfield for years. I definitely look up to her, and essentially in the sense that I was like, you built an incredible platform, and I just wanted to understand that platform for myself and just be a part of that. And I guess that, plus the motivation of what we were discussing earlier, the breakup with my ex after 5 years, that alone just became a fuel for me, essentially, just to really, really take it to another level and just get to this point.
But didn't she actually she wasn't happy with your choice, right?
I mean, she was happy with my choice. She just wasn't really necessarily on board with, with my aspirations specifically. She didn't think what I was trying to accomplish was going to be a possibility. And, for whatever reason it was, that's where our disconnect started hitting.
I've had relationships like that too, where they try to hold you back. And a lot of it is their own insecurities. And honestly, those are the worst relationships. If they're not going to embrace and be empowering and be, your support to push you to do things, even if they don't really believe in it deep down, that's just the wrong relationship, because they'll always weigh you down and you'll never achieve your goals or your dreams, because that's your partner in crime. That's the person that's supposed to lift you up, not weigh you down or step on you.
I come at peace of mind in knowing that the fact that you're, in certain circumstances, if I was still stuck in that relationship at that particular point in my life, then maybe she might be right. But the fact of the matter is, like, just giving me additional fuel itself. Like, I was watching The Last Dance yesterday. I don't know if you've been watching, Matt. I don't know if you've been watching the Jordan Last Dance documentary, but there was a game where he was playing against Charlotte, and BJ Armstrong just looked at him funny, essentially, and he was like, "That's all I needed," And like, for me, that's kind of what it is, also. Just that alone itself is like, it makes it's fire for me, and I like to live off the doubt, essentially. I like to feel off of the doubt, essentially, and the more, the further you come, the further you grow in life, essentially, the more doubt you're gonna have.
No, 100%. So 4 years, Chris, and already you've built out a team. Most people, it takes them forever to build out a team, or no team at all. Why do you have 3 buyer's agents?
Well, I wanted to be able to hit I want to be able to fill holes that I was missing before, essentially. We get I was getting a lot of buyers, potentially missing on deals, essentially, just because of the fact that, we get overwhelmed. I'm mainly a listing specialist for the most part, and just working with, as of right now, I have 6 listings on the market right now, and just managing 6 different listings, managing every buyer on the table itself. It's difficult, and I'd rather people that, I'd rather be able to feed some people around me so we could all grow, essentially, and the fact is, I got to a certain position. Cathy and I in September actually closed the most expensive home in Springfield history on MLS together. And, it is directly in my neighborhood as well. So for me, that was a personal prize piece for me specifically, just because of where it is, it hit home, literally.
When you say neighborhood, like, specifically where in your neighborhood?
We closed 556 Ashwood Road for $1.3 million.
No, I'm saying, wasn't this house across the street from you?
Yeah, it was right around the neighborhood from my parents' house.
Gotcha. Oh, I thought it was across the street from you. Gotcha. That's pretty impressive. Until that sale, the 1.3, what was the highest price?
Believe it was like 1.2 or something like that.
Got it. Cathy's like, yo, let's see if they'll pay 1.6.
No.
Was it half the comp? Because obviously from the mortgage side, how did that work out?
No, it was great. This client was, he was an awesome guy. He was a doctor, and we got him closed pretty quickly. He needed to make a move quickly. He was looking for a while and came across this house. And, you know, we were, I think, Chris, we closed it pretty quick. It was like a under 30-day closing, right?
That was the first, that was actually the first time I realized that, working with Cathy was just on a whole nother level, essentially, because, we were always trying to get deals together, essentially, before that. And, we just had a lot of deals that just came in and just crumbled, just the nature of this business, unfortunately. But, this is one of the first ones where I realized, because, I've on the listing side, I've dealt with a lot of crappy mortgage lenders on the other side. Example, on one of my deals, I literally had a lender forget what kind of deal we were working with, and he ended up yelling at both myself and the buyer's agent saying, "Oh, they never told me that this was a flip property, essentially. So, that's why we have to do a second appraisal. That's why we're going to close late." I'm like, you're lending money to a property, and also you should know what kind of deals you're lending money to, So, I mean, and on top of that, that's not even as bad as it gets. It could get substantially worse, and we've dealt with lenders that are approving people for just things that they shouldn't even be approved for. I remember I brought you a deal last year, I brought you a client last year. We were trying to just figure out what it was, but, he lied about, having a car repoed, and ended up being 2 cars repoed.
He lied, or he didn't talk about it?
He didn't talk about it.
I knew about it. I saw it right away.
What did you say to the guy? This is a guy trying to buy a house?
Yeah, I said he has got no chance. There was lots of things going on, but repo was one of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Pulled a miracle for that one.
No, absolutely, 100%. Cathy, I don't know how you feel about this, but social media presence.
Love it.
You're all about social media. Craig, what do you think about social media? Let me ask this question, better yet. What do you think about social media, and what do you think about what's happening in the market right now as far as the COVID-19 and agents that are not getting on board with social media?
I mean, this is one of the biggest things I look for in anybody that I want to work with on my team specifically. Your willingness to be online specifically. That's the biggest way to build your brand these days, especially now during a COVID situation. Everyone's talking about all these other realtors with the billboards that, they drive by every single day, essentially, right? But here's the thing, right? If you treat Facebook and Instagram, that's actually substantially more powerful than any billboard that you can put out there specifically, because, back to my 5-second rule, essentially, where, when you're scrolling down Facebook, you see something specifically that captures your eye, you're going to stop and you're going to want to, give it that attention specifically to what it needs, versus even if you're driving by something, you don't have time to pull over in the middle of a highway to take down the information of what you're driving by. But if you capture someone at the right moment in social media, they're going to stop, they're going to acknowledge your material, and, just be able to be on social media itself has been able to, allow me to have a free platform, just to advertise and grow my business itself. I've been able to connect with, both you, Cathy, Michelina, which actually, for those of you who don't know, I actually worked for back in a couple of years ago, which is actually what got me out of working, out of the New York City market.
You worked for who?
Michelina.
You worked with her?
I did. I was actually one of her little staging assistants many, many years ago. This was actually the key for me to quit retail in New York. She was like, "Look, I need some help." I was like, "This is perfect." When I, as soon as she gave me that opportunity, I started working with her, John. John gave me so much love. We were working together. We used to go up, just shoveling out, furniture essentially from snow and ice, just the little grit and grind to get to the position. It's just been crazy. I got to meet so many incredible people. That's when I got to meet, the first property that we staged together. I got to meet Gabe Da Silva, Amanda Nadia. You know, I got to meet some incredible, powerful people in this business and everything, and I just got to learn so much because of it.
Wow, that's I did not know that story. I did not know that story. Cathy, what are your thoughts on this young fella and his aspirations to be, I guess, a top dog in the real estate industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's these key ingredients that you have to have, and a lot of people can't teach you certain things. You just have to either have it or you don't. And which leads me to my next question, which is, what and how pushes you to have such a good work ethic? Because I mean, when I look around and I see many realtors, and some do, great amount of business, and a lot of them, one of the things that they have is a really strong work ethic. And you definitely are one of my, I mean, I don't know many people that work as hard as you. I mean, you're working like 7 days a week, 15, 20 hours a day. It's crazy the amount of energy you have. And what pushes you? What is your like driving factor to have such a great work ethic?
I am blessed to be around some, my parents have always been hardworking. My father was working, in a restaurant. He's been working, pretty much my entire life. He's still, he was actually working up until COVID, essentially, and just working till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on a regular basis. My mother was working on Wall Street, for a while, and just working in, just hustling on the, hustling Wall Street essentially for, her entire life, essentially. Just being a part of that and just getting that understanding and just watching that, watching my parents come from, the condos and just growing in the town specifically and just becoming, just getting to the business, position that they're in. I get to see everything, and I got to see every little lifestyle essentially. And, I actually grew up a really, really big fan of hip hop since, I would say I was like 3 or 4 or 5 years old, essentially. I was like the early 90s. I was always listening, I was listening to like Puff Daddy and Biggie and Tupac and stuff like that.
Dancing.
That was a little bit later, but just be able to connect to a certain music essentially that's always talking about, just hearing the layers about just going out there and just working your ass off, and to be honest, we have essentially one life to live, I guess, why not maximize it to our best, and that's just the way I look at it. It's like, if we're here, we're going to be, if I'm going to work this hard to get to the, just to get my license, just to get my real estate license, because like, you're dedicating 75 hours just in class time, you're dedicating hundreds of dollars off the bat, and the real estate business isn't cheap. The real estate business is expensive to get just get started in business, because what a lot of people don't realize, the general public doesn't realize, we pay for all our own marketing material for the most part. We're paying for, a lot of offices, some offices charge you just to be at the office itself, the office desk fees essentially. And, it's not easy to start off being a real estate agent, which is why, a substantial amount of real estate agents quit within their first year. It's a very expensive, and it's also very daunting. It's very stressful, being able to handle rejection, be able to pick up the phone and just call someone is one thing, but also be able to handle the rejection and be able to hang up the phone and be able to jump onto it the next time again for another call itself. There's no such thing as no without a restraining order. Eventually it has to, become cemented in your mind, essentially. But some people just can't really solidify that in their stomach and really just can't handle that stress and that pressure. And even for me, sometimes it's like, if you're not in the right state of mind, it's hard to deal with that. It's hard to deal with that that rejection essentially. But at some point you do become a little bit hard into it, and you do become, you do realize that it's not it's not the person that's rejecting you, but it's just the fact that if they're not willing to, if they're being difficult in regards to be able to understand the value of your services, then it's really not worth working. It's really not worth working the deal anyways at that point.
Cool. So, what makes you stand out from like the other agents? What would you say is your standout?
I believe I have I'm not saying that other realtors don't have, but I believe that I have a very strong compassion to all my clients, and I do genuinely care. I still keep up to my very first clients this very day. Text them every holiday, just checking up on them, seeing how they're doing. I'm doing things with, I send out gifts every once in a while to all my clients on the holidays essentially just to catch up, just to see how they're doing. I just want to keep that memory, just keep my name, just keep that recognition, and just make sure they don't forget that, that we have a relationship. And, they're, I treat them like family, essentially. We've been into this, essentially we went through war together because real estate, a deal is a little crazy sometimes. Especially when, I had to save a couple of families from some dire situations, then you naturally become substantially closer with the people that you're working with, because you built that relationship through all the struggles, and, that's something for me specifically. And, I really believe in maintaining long lasting relationships, which is why, which is why I'm always, which is why I've been working with you guys for as long as I've been working with you guys, because, I genuinely believe that we built something extremely incredible over here. I could call Cathy up and just talk about my dog, just nonsense like that, and I could do the same thing with Matt. I could just send him a message about talking about what happened on the sports game, whatever it is or something like that. We'll just talk and just have a good time, essentially. That's basically what it is. It's not about the money, it's about the people.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely noticed with you, it was like, you're so ethical. There's so many agents out there that are so shady, and they think about themselves first before their clients. And one thing I will say is with you is you're constantly thinking about the client first. You'll let a deal fall apart if you have to, because you want to make sure your client is the one's best interest. And, that's such, I have such admiration for that, because I've always worked my business around doing the right thing. And I truly believe in karma. And I think that you also hold the same values, which is, just incredible, because you can easily go down the wrong path in real estate and start doing, shady things, not always do what's the best interest of the client. And, and so I think that's so amazing that you do that.
Ironically, actually, when I first started this business, my first couple of deals, I dealt with some really, really bad agents, and I've actually had some really bad attorneys on the other side of the deals also. And, whereas many people will just be like, oh my God, that's terrible, I'm going to complain about it. Essentially, like for me personally, it's like, I actually treat that as a blessing, because, my first couple of deals, I basically had to do a substantial amount of the negotiations, even for things I didn't even know about. So like, if I didn't understand it, I had to Google it, I had to research it, I had to figure it out. I had to ask questions, I had to call all the right contractors, I had to ask all the right people just to understand exactly how to fix the problem. Because like, I didn't start off on the team. I was a sole agent, coming to Keller Williams at that time. And I just didn't know anything about real estate. I was like, who do I meet? Who do I connect with? One day I just got on, sitting in an office, I was on Facebook, I was talking to some agent, and basically I connected with them, and I just saw a whole bunch of people I wanted to connect with. You, Michelina, Ashley Gravano. And then, eventually we just grew an amazing relationship, and, ended up going to your party in Il Tucliano at some point. And I remember walking in, you're like, oh my God, my biggest fan.
Yeah, you were breakdancing that night. That's the night I learned something new about you.
That wasn't me.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned in real estate?
Just patience, actually. Realizing that not, you're going to work hard. The greatest things in life actually requires a substantial amount of patience. It's like planting seeds. This business is a seed planting business. And, you got to be patient with it and let it grow. Some people just hit off the bat, like I was about to say before, I wasn't on a team before. I was a solo agent. So for a solo agent, just getting into business and all stuff, not having someone just giving leads out, essentially, be like, here we go, this is what it is. We're teaching teaching me the ropes. I literally just had to just plant the seeds down, essentially just watch it grow. And because of that, we had, I had a lot of ups and downs. I didn't know anybody my first year. And, it was a struggle, essentially. But eventually, when the seeds started blooming and it actually, became something and started growing into something, it grew into something beautiful. I work with some of the greatest people, this industry has to offer, between Matt, between Cathy Haddad, and Michelina, Ashley, Priska with Clear Skies right now. Like everybody I've been working with, it's just been incredible. Casey has been incredible. Everybody I've been working with has just been an amazing person to work with. And, naturally they're amongst the top of the business for a reason, and for me to be working with a powerhouse, what I call the real estate Avengers, is just absolutely incredible. And I couldn't be, I'm absolutely blessed.
Well, we're blessed to have you, because, you're always been the type of person to give. You're not a taker, you're a giver. You love to take care of others, give other people accolades. And, that's why today is all about you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. I love it.
Matt, who would have thought you would ever have such a mushy, like, you know, live event? You're usually, this is how you do it.
For me,
Yeah.
you know what? People don't really actually know. I'm actually a big mush myself. I'm a big softie. I love my kids. I actually hug on my kids some. One of my dogs, Miley, she comes on the couch. She snuggles with me. Sometimes I'll actually hold her like she's like a little baby. Um, I have to be the way that I am, on social media because obviously I'm an authority in the industry, and I love to help people. And who the hell is going to listen to a mushy guy?
Yeah, and today's event was all like mushy. I love it.
Yeah, from the bank perspective, they're not going to want to deal with somebody who's a pushover.
That's for sure.
And I am very passionate about what I do. Ironically, Cathy, I'm going to tell you, most people think I'm a jerk. They think I'm mean. Oh yeah, 100%. People in my town, I'm actually on a list of one of the families in town is one of the top number of people that they don't like, which means
there's actually a list.
That's a list.
I'm on a list. I wasn't number one on the list, which pissed me off.
Oh, do an event where you're in the spotlight.
What's that?
I said, well, you're going to be next. We're going to have to do an event with you being in the spotlight.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate that. Well, obviously, Chris being one of the hardest working guys, in this industry, and I'm not dismissing what you guys are saying. I appreciate it. But this isn't about me. This is about Chris. I do what I do with my live shows during the day at 12 o'clock, Monday through Friday, because I want people to, get outside their comfort zone. I want them to hear from professionals that's going on. There's no selling during the day. Like when I do the lives at night, people can come on, they can talk about, a service that they provide. And if somebody wants, they can reach out to them. Right now, I normally just do this on Short Sales 101, and I block everybody else out. So I actually put on the bottom of the screen, if people want to learn more about short sales, they can feel free to join the Short Sale 101 group. That is a private group that I have on Facebook. And obviously they can follow me on Instagram, Short Sale Savage. But the purpose of this is for people to understand what their options are. And I don't want people to feel like they're left behind. And that, Cathy, Chris has been talking about you forever, like literally wouldn't shut up. So I was like, you know what? You have to be the perfect person to be the co-host with me to talk about Chris, because he has a very high regard for you.
Aww. I feel the same way about you.
In this industry, obviously, is very hard to come across and have people that are actually very genuine. And Chris, listen, I call Cathy whenever I want. I call her about stupid things, but I have a question, or if I need to talk to a client, like you pick up the phone. Listen, people that don't know you, they must be underneath a rock, because I've been following you forever. And my brother-in-law was like, "Oh my God!" It's like, Cathy, she's like a rock star. I started laughing. Yeah, of course. But you're so down to earth, and you're so nice. And that's actually very rare, because obviously when people get really like good at their job, or they get great, or they start like getting published in magazines, you're the top 1% of writing mortgages. That's huge, man. That's huge. So obviously people
Forbes nationwide.
Right. You were in Forbes magazine, right?
Yeah.
Did you make the cover?
No, but that's a dream.
Okay. Hey,
maybe one day.
They had a dream.
Forbes, hit me up.
Yeah, hit her up. So listen, if you guys want, obviously you can follow Cathy. You can go on her website, cathyhaddad.com. She also has a hashtag. You could follow that, Cathy Haddad Team. She's on Instagram. She wanted me to push the Instagram hard because she's looking for followers on Instagram. So it's Cathy Haddad. on Instagram, and obviously you'll see that beautiful face with those big white teeth. You'll know exactly who it is. Am I lying? You got big white teeth.
Okay.
You do. And, obviously, for me, being in this industry, it's hard because you find there's a lot of haters out there. You find that there's a lot of people that put you down, and because, you're successful, what you do. I don't really get upset when people call me like, yo, man, so-and-so was trashing you at an event tonight. I'm like, cool. I said, he's not a hater, he's a follower.
Yeah.
So, and
I would say, you know how successful who the person is when you see the amount of arrows in their back. I mean, that's just, more successful, the more haters you're gonna.
Also, if you have the time to be trashing people, unfortunately, you don't put enough time in your work. So that's the way I look at it. Also, like, I was talking to Cathy the other day about this also, where like I was dealing with some crazy mortgage lender that literally just told me to shove it up my ass just because he didn't get the job done on time for whatever reason it was, and it was just crazy, and
did he get it done or no?
He didn't. No, I mean, like we ended up pushing closing back by like almost 3 weeks. Because the guy dropped the ball like multiple times, and even to the point where the processor was calling me. I was just like, "This guy is terrible."
Well, you know what? I want to bring something up that makes sense. Cathy has a team.
Yeah.
Chris has a team. Matt has a team. So successful people have teams. You teamwork, right?
100%.
You can't do it on your own. Growth. You need to have others. There's no I in team. You have to work together, and you can't do it all.
Any top realtor and any top person in this industry specifically, they're not solo. That's a fact. And we might not see it on the bill. We might not see the people behind the scenes sometimes, the other agents. We might see with certain agents that there's like a star face or whatever it is, but everybody within the teams itself is just as important as the person that's in the star, that's in front of the team itself. I'm nothing without my team, essentially, and just the fact that I know that I'm nothing without the people that I work with, the support staff that I have, the fact that my support staff is literally the anchor that essentially helps me and helps guide me to the directions I need to get to. Because the thing is, I could literally take a deal and leave it in Cathy's hand, leave it in Matt's hand, leave it in Casey's hand, leave it in one of these, anybody, specifically Nicolina, essentially. And I'd never have to think twice about what's going to go wrong with the deal, what's going on, and what might potentially go south, on their end specifically. The one thing that we don't want to deal with, as in our industry specifically, is some nonsensical surprises. And that's one thing that I know for sure that when I hand it to one of you guys, I'd never have to question.
I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I will say that as far as the teamwork side of it, 100%. I am nothing without my team. Matter of fact, I got a message tonight, a text message, and then I got a follow-up call from the agent. Homeowner is very upset. Feels like they've been taken advantage of. It's somebody who I don't know enough about it, but when we were on the live here, my assistant Leah had reached out to me and asked me, do you want me to talk to you first or speak with the homeowner? I said, just speak with the homeowner. Sent you an email with some notes. And essentially this, there are some, I'm going to say, I don't want to say shady, but there are some weird people in the industry in real estate that are agents. And this person, I don't believe speaks English. And I speak Spanish, and I believe he was taken advantage of. They had him sign all different types of documentation, and the agent reached out to me and was flipping out and livid and said, look, I don't know. This is what I love about this industry. I don't know if I'm going to get the listing out of it, but I know that your team will be able to get down to the bottom of it and find out whether or not this guy's going to be able to do a short sale or not. He just got served paperwork from the court system, which I find very hard to believe, but whatever, just now. And then he also, supposedly his file is in review for a short sale. So he had called the bank, and the bank says, you have nothing open in the system. There is nothing in review. Your file is not active. And I mean, I don't want to, basically say stuff that's not true, but I was getting the impression that he had signed over his deed.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, to his property. The agent is not getting back to them. Supposedly, something might have been recorded on title based on whatever they were going to do with the property. So this isn't the first time that something like that has actually happened and been brought to me, where somebody's trying to play different sides of the table. Look, guys, if you're a real estate agent, you're a real estate agent. If you're an investor and you want to buy the property, you buy the property. You can't commingle the two of those and say that you're doing something successful. And guys, anybody who's anybody in this industry is going to tell you, if you're doing a short sale, the property has to be listed. It has to be listed for a certain amount of time on the MLS before it can go into any type of attorney review. This property is a pocket listing. It's not even on the MLS. So everybody's flipping out. And so hopefully we'll get some, good 401 intel on this and find out if we can help the person. But I love the fact that the real estate agent had reached out to me. She's fluent in Spanish. And she had thought, hey, look, this is a perfect example. Look, I don't know if I can help, but Matt, you're always about people before profit, which I love. And she saw that. And that's one of the reasons, Chris, why I like working with you. And I thought this is important to come on. This was something to show people and to showcase somebody 4 years in the industry, had adversity where didn't know what he wanted to do. Like Cathy said, which I love, weapon of choice. I love that, Cathy. And that, he was willing to, to do something that he wanted to do. Most people fail in real estate, I'm going to say, within the first year of the industry. Cathy, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. First year, most people don't make it. And it's either because they give up, they can't handle the pressure, or they just can't get their feet off the ground. They can't figure out, the secret sauce.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Unfortunately, it's not meant to be an easy business. Unfortunately, some people are a little bit more fortunate than others. Some people hit luck a little bit, a little bit quicker than others. But persistence matters substantially in this business, and just being, social media helps substantially because just the fact that now we can do open houses. It goes back to the whole thing with social media. It's a matter of, are you applying yourself where you need to apply yourself? And unfortunately, I believe most agents actually have that struggle. I actually sat down with a realtor who wanted to be a part of my team a while ago. And this is before I actually started the team officially. And I literally asked him, I was like, are you on Facebook? No, I don't want to post my stuff on Facebook. Are you doing this? No, I'm not doing this. Are you doing that? No, I'm not doing this. And like, for me, it's just like, so how are you going to be in this business and how are you going to survive in this business? Because people, I remember in, the real estate courses, the CE courses on social media, they're saying that you shouldn't post, personal things on your Facebook page and mix it with business. But in reality, people love, the general public loves people that they can connect to. And that's really, really, really big because, by connecting with the general public itself, specifically, and, they get to know the real side of you. They know that you're not faking an imposter in what you do specifically. They like to know the real you, the genuine person, because, just the fact that, they know the general person of you, they know they can trust you. And that's how I built my relationships with people. Recently in my magazine, I actually am a regular at Box with Coffee and Summit, and Chaffee's Pizzeria was actually my first job when I was 16. Actually, when I was 13, I'm sorry. I was actually going there and just they were giving me, they were just paying me, just to come in and just do a couple of things. So I actually walked over there when I was a kid and asked them for a job, and they gave me my first job right before I got into high school. And, that was actually the first time I actually got to start working. But I ended up giving back to them as well, just posting on magazines and articles about them, just showing what they're doing, because they're going out of their way right now to donate to the local hospitals and everything. So it's like, this is just a way to get more personal right now, and, social media is really helping that factor. And people quit a lot of times because they're just not applying themselves to the right places. If you're not going to be on social media, you're literally giving away your biggest weapon in this business. All the other stuff, television shows, even if you're talking about television itself, like the actual cable TV, the television industry is steadily dying out, as you can see, as we've been able to see, with everything going directly to streaming, between Hulu, Netflix, etc. The general television market is dying down substantially, but the social media market is jumping substantially. and if you're not going to take advantage of the platform, you're not going to grow. And unfortunately, you're going to end up falling and crumbling with the older people in this business who haven't adapted.
So as far as like, and you know what, good, because I pay a lot of money every single month to my provider. I could get a new car for how much money I spent on my cable bill.
Telling you, man, seriously.
It's ridiculous. I remember when my parents were so against having cable TV growing up, and I remember that we finally got them to get cable, and I mean I could tell them now because statute of limitations definitely ran out by now. I didn't have my driver's license. I'm in my late 40s now. So when they left, somebody had told me that there was a thing called filters in the cable. And if you wanted to get like, HBO back then, you actually had to take a filter off and you had to connect in between the filter. And then you could basically, they would block you from getting, HBO. So no joke. Or I'm not even kidding when I said this. The guy left. I went in the whole closet and I had like a whole like gear thing, whatever, like, book bag, stuff, whatever. And my mom's like, "Where you going?" I said, "I'll be back to take care of something." And she was like a little suspicious, whatever. I literally climbed up the phone pole in front of my True story. And and took the filter out and then connected it together.
That's hilarious.
She didn't say a word to me. And I got down and she's like, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "Well, now, whatever we're paying for the cable, right? We're getting the bonus of the HBO. So now it makes sense to have it." She just walked out in the house. But you know what? We had HBO for years and they never caught on to it.
You're going to get a letter in the mail.
Sticking it to the man.
From HBO.
Come on, kid.
Hey, I sold bootleg CDs when I was 16, so
I've never done anything illegal.
Yeah, right. You didn't do anything as a kid that was bad?
Never.
I can't see it.
She's like, "Should I say it? Should I not?" Don't ruin your image. Keep it squeaky clean.
Never.
So, I gotta say, this was fun. I loved having everybody on.
Great. I had such a good time.
I appreciate you coming on as a co-host. Love to have you back on again.
Yes, would love it.
What's up?
I said this was fun.
Absolutely, 100%. And I know it's night. I know you have, two young girls, Alex and Charlie.
Yes, you know their names. That's so cute.
I'm a little bit of a stalker. I always wanted a daughter. So I always hear you screaming, "Charlie, Charlie," in your videos. I'll take the wild one. I'll take Charlie.
Charlie is the wild one. Alexa's she's the more reserved, careful what she does. But you better watch out, man. She's a little. I'm telling you, the tables are going to turn one day.
100%. I could see. They're close in age, right?
Yeah, they're like a year and a half apart.
That's my brother and me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so for the first, I would say, 15 years of my life, he tried to kill me. And then after that, for a couple of years. Well, no, after that, he broke my thumb. He jammed the straw down my throat, whatever. And then after that, then we actually became friendly because my father and my mom were like, "We ain't having this anymore." It is what it is. Guys, so tonight, the special guest that we had on was Christopher Chen, and loved having him on, loved interviewing him, finding out about him. He's all about Unlock NJ Homes. So you can njhomes.com it. You can hashtag NJ Homes, Unlock NJ Homes, or you can Instagram follow him on Unlock NJ Homes. Now, Cathy Haddad wants me to push her Instagram account. She wants followers. So, guys, let's look her up a little bit. I know she's horrible to look at.
Oh my God!
So, at Instagram,
help me, help Cathy. Cathy.
Oh my God! You know what we should do? We should do like one of those pages for raising money. but switch it out with Instagram followers.
Exactly. Go fund me for IG followers.
That's it, for IG followers. You can follow Cathy on Instagram at Cathy Haddad, obviously, and that's just CathyHaddad.com, and then one of her hashtags is Cathy Haddad Team. So I appreciate having all you guys on. And you know what? I know there was some new followers tonight that don't know me, and they're probably your follower, Cathy, and maybe Chris's followers. I do short sales, and if somebody wants to learn more about short sales and they want to have the environment, the group environment, there's no cost to join. It's a free, a page that's available. It is a private group. You have to answer 3 questions to get into that group. If you don't answer those 3 questions, and they're very simple questions, my team will not let you in. So you can cry all you want. You can message me, which people have said, hey, just let me in. No, you got to answer 3 questions. And the 3 questions is so simple is what area of real estate are you in, right? It's your email address, and basically how long have you been in the industry that you're in. So if you can't answer those 3 questions, I don't know if I want you in my group. You know what I'm saying? You can definitely go on there. Short Sales 101. It's a short sale private group. You can follow me on Instagram, which I am accepting new followers as well. The Short Sale Savage, and that's one of my lines that I have. Chris, anything you want to say coming on?
Well, speaking of $1 Million Listing in New York, it's it's been a blessing just to be a part, just to be inspired by that. So which is why we made our moves over to Nest Seekers, which is a big anchor of that specifically. So being a part of Nest Seekers now has just been a dream come true. There are little details I can't really go too much into. You guys are gonna have to definitely stay tuned. So definitely follow me on Instagram on those specific news. But I will tell you that I am looking on expanding right now at this point. Throughout the Corona, I am actually working on getting my New York City license right now as well, which is something I haven't told anybody yet. So here's a huge announcement. I am going to start building a Lock and White home soon too.
Nice, dude. Nice. Yeah. Cathy, anything you want to add or say or?
No, I just had a great time. It's always good to see you guys, and Chris, keep up the wonderful work, and you're just such an inspiration to many. And thanks for letting me be your co-host, Matt. It was a pleasure. I think I want to start doing this more often with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, at the end of every live stream, I ask people to do the finger point. So I want to see if you guys can nail it. Chris, you nailed it. All right, Cathy, stop shooting me, Cathy. You gotta do it like that. No, like that. Do it. All right, close enough. We'll take it. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Next time, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock, we got the show. Tuesdays and Thursday nights are at 7 p.m. So keep tuning in. I appreciate it. And thank you for the new followers that are following us. Cathy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much as well. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.